and welcome to this Facebook Live from the 106th International Labour Conference in Geneva. My name is Rosalind Yarde, and today we're talking about the Future of Work initiative, which was launched by the ILO Director General, Guy Ryder, in response to the rapid changes that we're seeing in the world of work. With me is Nicholas Niemchinov, Special Advisor to the Director General on the Future of Work and Head of the Future of Work Unit. Also, we have Maria-Luz Coordinator of the Future of Work Centenary initiative. This is a topic that affects us all, so we want you to be part of the conversation. Post your questions in the Facebook comments section and I'll put it to our experts. And don't forget to let us know where you're joining us from. Firstly, Nicholas, can you explain what the Future of Work initiative is?
So the Future of Work initiative is the centerpiece of the ILO Centenary in 2019. We'll have a future-oriented centenary, not just a commemoration, even if we're very proud of our legacy. If I try to summarize, this is a global and inclusive discussion we have proposed to the world with our unique constituency, because you know that we are tripartite, workers, employers, governments, and we are proposing to the world a discussion about the future of work, how we see the future of work, and in order to prepare the future of work we want.
I understand that the dialogues that you're talking about revolve around four major conversations. Could you just give me a flavour of what those conversations are?
Yes, we have proposed to our member states, to our constituents, the workers, the employers, the governments, again, four conversations. The first one is work and society, the value of work in our societies in the future. So this is very much the conversation about the value of work, of self-realization, of socialization, of role of the work in society. The second conversation is the organization of work and production. The third one is decent jobs for all, from where we will create the jobs we need for the future and the decent job we need for the future, with a growing population, a growing workforce in the world. And the last one is the governance of work, including the ILO.
Right. I mean, it sounds quite ambitious. Why is this needed anyway?
This is ambitious, indeed. This is ambitious because the question of the future of work is probably one of the major challenges for our future, like the climate change. Our generation is witnessing huge and very heavily transformative changes in the world of work that are impacting all our societies, the social contracts, the way we are living, the way we are working, of course. And this is a major challenge, and the ILO for its centenary propose, to reflect on that evolution, to prepare the future. This is ambition because we have to shape the future of work we want, not just being, kind of passive bystanders of the technological revolution. We have to choose our future.
Right. And Maria-Luz, you're the coordinator of the Future of Work initiative. Can you tell me, who is the ILO partnering with on this?
Yes, as you can imagine, and as we are a tripartite organization, for sure all our counterparts, all our member state workers and employers are the ones that are directly involved in this initiative. But this is much more ambitious, as Nicolas was mentioned before, because we are not only working with our natural people, our natural counterpart, but also with academia, with different networks, with institutions. But moreover, we are working with whoever, because the future of work is the future of work for all. Then we are open the discussion to whoever is interested in working with us, and we would like to have alliance with anyone that can work, can discuss, and can decide on which is the future of work that everyone needs and everyone wants.
Thank you. Now let me remind you, this is an ILO Facebook Live from the International Labour Conference, and today we're talking about the Future of Work initiative. Please send us your questions so that we can pose them to our experts. So, Nicholas, how far are we along in the process?
So we are working in this initiative that is a long process, for, let's say, 18-15 months. We have built this initiative in 3 stages. with 3 engines, if you want, like a rocket. So we have an initial stage with national dialogues on future of work. We have launched everywhere across the globe national dialogues, just simply asking to our national constituents how they see their future of work. This stage is coming to its end. We are now receiving the outcomes of those national dialogues. We will analyze them, and then we will launch the second stage of this initiative, that is a commission, international commission, that will work on the basis of the outcomes of the national dialogues, the existing scientific knowledge, of course, from our partners, the universities, the think tanks. Maria-Luz mentioned that. This commission will work 1 year and a half. It will issue after a report with recommendations, because as I told you, this is not a purely academic exercise. This is done for issuing recommendations, for policy making, for shaping the future of work we want. And the last stage, the third stage, will be the centenary year itself in 2019, with all the year will be devoted to this very big event, with the culmination will be the DLC in June 2019, with a discussion of our constituents, the workers, the employers, the governments again, on the report of the Commission.
Yeah. So how many countries have taken part so far in these dialogues?
This is the good surprise of this initiative. We had a very strong participation of our member states and constituents, national constituents. So far, we are supported by 168 countries that expressed their political support to this initiative. So it's almost all our member states, 90%. To date, we have 110 national dialogues already done. So it means that in 110 countries across the globe, social partners, governments had this discussion about their future of work. So it's quite unique, in 15 months. So you see, this is quite satisfactory.
Yeah, that sounds great. Now we have our first question, and this is from Rachel, and she asks, what does success look like for this initiative? How will you know that the ILO has succeeded in this? I don't know who wants to take this question.
I can answer very simply to you. Just the mere fact that we had such a success in organizing national dialogues shows, the mere fact that we had that discussion is per se very interesting, and it's a success. So now, of course, we hope to have very effective and interesting recommendations from the ILO for 2019, but we consider already that the success of the National Dialogue Stage 1 is a success.
Okay. Now, Maria-Luz, just a question. Really picking up on what Nicolas is saying. It's just a question, is this really truly global? How are you actually planning to reach beyond the partners that we're already working with?
Well, as I mentioned before, everybody is involved, and if we have other partners like academia or institution, we are trying to reach in the best way that we can everyone that should be involved. That means all citizens. Don't forget that if we talk about population of the world, more than 60% are workers or employers who have worked or been employer before or will be in the future workers and employers. What we are really expecting is to have everyone discussing about the future of work and to keep the idea that ILO could be a lead in inspiring the content of the discussion. We have youth for sure involved, because I say what people that are less than 20 think about the future of work, or less than 30. I'm not very sure which is the cut-off age today. Will be very important for us, because probably they have completely different aspirations of the ones that we have, the ones that have more than 40 or 50.
Yes, yeah. So young people, they've had a chance to shape this process?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I say in several activities that we have been preparing in this process in the year that we have been working in this initiative, more or less, they are being an active part. And not only this, most of the national dialogues that Nicola was mentioned has touched the question of youth employment in particular, and some of them even only concentrated on the youth issue. I would say more or less a dozen, like 10 or 11, has been only focused on young question. And there have been a very active participation of school, university, that has shaped the dialogue in the way that they want.
So a young person watching this Facebook Live, how do they actually get involved?
Well, they can do whatever they need first at the level that they can, and they can, of course, discuss and have a look at whatever we produce in our intranet or in our Facebook today. This is a way to participate and to reach us. Of course, we are able, as the Centenary supporters of this initiative, to receive any question that they can send us through an inbox that is called Future of Work. And we will be able to respond whatever they want and be active in responding and making them part of the process. Is quite important for us.
Right. Okay. So we've been having these national dialogues. What are the main themes and concerns that are coming out of them?
There are many. I say maybe there are many people thinking that the biggest concern will be robotic or digitalization, but I am sorry to say this is not true. Then, in fact, even though it's an important subject, and I cannot say in another way because it's one of the drivers of the change, things like informal economy, things like legislation, review of the legislation, the role of social dialogue in the future, things like youth employment, as I mentioned before, things of new forms or new sectors of economy like care economy are becoming key issues to be discussed in this. And more than other thing, and is this the fascinating part of this Centenary initiative, is the main question, which will be the future, to work or not to work?
Right, okay, well maybe afterwards we will try and answer that question. But just to remind you, this is Facebook Live from the 106th International Labour Conference in Geneva. Please keep your questions coming. We have one now from Arnap, and he asks, what kind of policies do you see emerging from this exercise? And what innovations have you seen so far? I don't know which one of you would like to take that. Maybe you, Nicholas.
I mean, maybe the first policy we need to manage the transition and the ongoing changes in the world of work is, of course, skills policies. This is, of course, of utmost importance, especially for the young people. So we need digital skills, but not only, in the new economy, we need also the so-called soft skills, the ability to interact with others, creativity, judgment, strategic thinking, innovation. So skills policies, of course, are very important. And if we have appropriate skills policy, it will be easier to manage the transition, including to green our economies. That is of utmost importance. It will destroy and then create jobs, so we have to adapt our policies to that. Okay.
And as these national dialogues have been going on, have you seen geographical differences?
Yes and no, if I can say like this. There are some commonalities to say, of course, technology, demographic impact, but also there are, I will say, important subjects that are completely different. As I mentioned before, youth employment is one of the issues that is cross-cutting, and in some way we can say that gender issues in different way is also another subject that is common in most of the regions. But we can see, for example, then what is the problem of elder, what is called today the silver economy, is much more focalized in industrialized countries, also because the demographic impact in Europe is to have an old population, and in Africa is to have a young population. Already this makes a big difference. Also because the use, for example, of technology is has a different impact in the different regions. Even if people doesn't think this particular issue, in Africa is the first country to use, or has been the first one in using application on the mobile phones, and the first one on improving this capacity, but is much more at the level of the telephones, but not so much at the level of the computers. This makes that the subject probably are similar, but the way of being shown and shaped are a little bit different, depends on the regions.
Okay. But Rosalind, you see from what you are saying that the debate about the future of work is much broader than the mere description of the technological revolution. That's very important, and I want to underline that for our followers.
Which ones would you highlight then?
the social impact on the ongoing changes in the world of work, because the usual way to tackle the problem of the future of work is to start by describing, this is very important of course, describing the technological revolution we are witnessing, but it's much broader and more political. So that's very important, and that is the ambition of the ILO.
If I can add, I say there are not even agreement on which revolution we are living. Some countries are talking still that we are in the third revolution, other in the fourth revolution, and in my point of view, and it's very personal, we are still in the first one.
It seems to underline the complexity of this issue. Now we're getting more questions, and we have one from Mira. Again, we're going back to young people because obviously the future is their future, and she asks, in the end, young people want to know what kind of employment they can look forward to. Will they be able to form families and take care of them in a decent manner?
But it will be a completely different kind of employment. I think that we are in a very important transformation of the kind of employments, and the policies that we will need to shape in the future, all the active labor market policies, will be completely different. For sure, there will be a new impact. As we can see in the technological sector, we need other skills, we need completely different requirements for the people that are looking at this level, a new job. But also we have new sectors that are being developed, like for example the care economy. This is something that is open in a different way. This care economy that is opening from the low level or low skill up to high level skills, new employments. But also we are probably facing new employments in sectors, traditional sector like agriculture, because the use of new machines in agriculture will mean also new skills and new way of working. It's very difficult to say and to shape which will be the kind of work that we need. There are a lot of prediction of which kind of jobs will not be in the future and we will be. But I think we are still in a kind of futurologic approach to see what will happen.
But isn't the fear, though, that with these technological changes that people will lose their jobs?
There will be some lose and there will be some wins. I say there will be changes. The question is we are in a speed that is different to the speed that we have known before. But I'm sure there will be a creation of employment that is quite important. Again, we have different studies, different predictions, different possibilities. But I think at the end there will be destructions and there will be creation. We need to balance, this is the main issue, and it's the governance question, how to balance the speed and the creation in relation to the destruction. It's not the first time that there are changes in our history, and not even in the history of the ILO. This has been produced in normal, regular cycles.
So keep your questions coming. We have another one from Martin, and he's asking, how will the national dialogues contribute to still people's fears and concerns regarding their personal future of work?
Not directly, of course, but for us as an international organization, this is very important to listen to our constituents, to better know their concerns, their priorities, and you would be surprised to see in the outcomes of the future, the national dialogues, the complexity, the number of the diversity of the issues. So this is a way for us to start this initiative to better understand, where we are going, listening people. That's why we insist a lot to root this initiative in the reality of each region, each country, in their reality, especially for young people, because the young people, as we said, this is the most innovative part of the societies. They are agents of change themselves, but we have a lot of problems for them also, with higher unemployment for young people than for adults, precarity of their jobs. So you have that kind of paradox. So that's why we start by listening people, real people, and social partners, representing them.
Right. Okay. So you've told us that we've had, the national dialogues have been very successful. You've reached out to many, many countries. What are the next steps?
So the next step is we will continue this initiative by establishing a World Commission on Future of Work, composed by prominent people coming from everywhere, from developing economies, from developed countries, men and women, thinkers, politicians, very balanced commission, and they will reflect on the outcomes of the national dialogues. I told you on the existing scientific knowledge, because we don't know everything about the future of work. This issue is very complex. We are not sure about a lot of issues are very uncertain. So the ambition of this initiative is precisely to step back a little bit and to try to reflect beyond the immediate horizon, immediate emergencies. So the next step is this commission and the Centenary, the discussion of the Centenary in 2019. So we have 2 years to complete, to deepen our reflection.
Right. We seem to get a lot of questions now about the national dialogues. I think people really like to know the kind of the nuts and bolts of how they're working. And so we've got a question from Christine, and she's asking, what concretely do these national dialogues consist of? What happens and what do they produce?
So our national constituents were completely free to choose their issues for discussion. And the first result is to enhance the social dialogue. This is better to understand together what is going on in the world of work, what are the main issues, the main problems, the main opportunities, the main challenges. So this is the first result, is to promote the social dialogue as a method of managing the transition and to reflect on the future of work. And it depends. I mean, the answers of the countries are very diverse, you can imagine. I mean, the future of work is very different if you take China, France, Germany, Latin America, Arab states. It's very diverse. But it's very concrete, very interesting, and again we are now analyzing them, and we hope to produce something very useful even for their national agendas.
Thank you, Nicholas. And to remind you, this is Facebook Live at the 106th International Labour Conference in Geneva, and today we're talking about the Future of Work initiative. We have another question here it's from Mira again, and it's a question about technological changes. I think it's something that is very hard to avoid because that's the topic of the moment, I think. And so she's asking, we have had mega technological changes in the last 2 decades. Why then were we not talking about the future of work back then, and what's the major difference now?
Well, we are living now in something that is new, that is called the knowledge economy. It's completely different than what we have been living in the last year. We are living in a completely different use of technology. We are talking about big data, that for me is very unknown subject. And we are facing different problems concerning rights, use of technologies, and how to manage all the things that are related through. Then why we have deal in a different way is because we are living in a world where technology is part of our lives. Before was a complement, today is part of our lives. It's something that we are living with. In fact, I think we cannot pass by technologies anymore. And then it's part even of the employment, of the work, and even of the politics, this will happen very soon. In fact, I arrived to the ILO 28 years ago, and I was not thinking there will be Facebook for sure, and not that there will be cameras, there will be, but the Facebook that will put me on live to discuss with the people like this.
Thank goodness we have that opportunity now, yes?
What is different, Rosalind, is this time, for this technological revolution, what is different probably is the velocity, the speed, the exponential speed of the technological changes, and the huge transformative power of their combination, and the systemic impact on our society. This is changing the way we are living, the way we are working, the way we are communicating. So this systemic impact of the current technological changes is changing everything, almost everything. So that's why we have to try to understand the consequences. And maybe this is a different technological revolution. Maybe this is different this time.
Okay, we'll see. Now, coming back to the whole process of the Future of Work initiative, isn't there a danger that this could end up being something of an academic exercise, a kind of a talking shop? How will this initiative lead to real action, Maria-Luz?
Well, I think ILO is quite well known like a practical agency of the United Nations, and our composition, as we have mentioned many times, shows that we cannot be academic only, even though we are always having the support and the back of the studies and the consultation with academia that is very important in any important and intellectual debate. But I think we have not any risk because this tripartite composition, our actions in the national decent country programs, our way of facing our assistance to the countries and our technical cooperation will allow us always to have the focus that we are working with real people. Then it's impossible to escape to the reality that the ILO is a very practical institution that is fighting for social justice and for dignity of people.
Thank you. We've got a couple more questions here. Here's one from Roland, and he asks, I think it's something that we touched on earlier, he asks, how are girls encouraged to embrace technical and industrial professions which are traditionally masculine occupations? How are young women supported and accompanied in choosing the appropriate vocational training that would lead them in landing the trades of the future?
Well, this is what Nicola was mentioning in some cases when we were talking about the policies on the skills. But this is not only a question of vocational training, it's a question of changing education in general. I think it's quite important to be aware that today is not only a question of focusing the education at the professional level. We need to change the educational curricula because not anymore we are adapt to the need of this changing world of work. We need to have probably a new approach that is much more multi-skill, that allows people to be more open, as is in fact the wish of the people, to be more adaptable. They are not focusing on the idea of one profession for life. There are other aspirations, and I think this is not only related to technology, to everything. There are new aspirations concerning the world of work.
Yeah. And Nicholas, we've got another interesting question from Min, and he's asking, what will be the impact of these dramatic changes on the global governance system? And how does that system need to adapt to keep up?
This is a very interesting question. I'm sure I'm convinced that at least we have to manage this very important issue for our future, like the future of work, together, meaning in the international governance. If we are not trying to understand together and to manage together and to propose solutions together to the huge challenge of this future of work issue, we could have problems, tensions in the societies, insecurity and predictability and stability. For sure, and this is the ambition of the ILO, we have to deal with the question of future of work. That is one of the major political issues like climate change for the international governance. We have to deal together with this issue. That's why ILO launched this initiative. But of course we are not alone. We are partnering with other international organizations, WHO, for instance, or other international organizations, because they have something to say in this debate. And ILO is also participating in the G20 debates about this very important issue. So we are contributing to shape the discussion and to prepare the future.
Okay, so let's turn a bit more closely and look at the ILO itself. Are you expecting to learn some lessons that will help shape the ILO as it moves beyond its centenary?
For sure. I say if the DG, in this case the Director General, is thinking to launch an initiative of this size and of this importance, is because he's expecting that we do something that can impact to our work, not for this year or not for the next 2 years, will be a change, a thinking for the next future. I think we need to keep in mind that the ILO is fighting for values, for dignity, for ideology, for something that is building society. Then I think the discussion is crucial to talk about our future, about the human being future. Then for me this is the question. I'm sure we will learn a lot, and everyone needs to learn, because we need to change the things to be adapt to the needs.
Earlier, somebody was asking me about the future of international labour standards in this new future of work. Well, how do you see it?
No, but this initiative is very much about the ILO itself. One of the goals of this initiative is to equip the ILO for pursuing its mandate for the global social justice everywhere in the world, and as a condition of the long-lasting peace. And I'm struck, when you read our constitution of, the Constitution and the Philadelphia Declaration of 1944, you are struck by the compelling power of those texts, Mm-hmm. And that, as Maria-Luz said, those values are still completely valid. Peace, global social justice, fights against poverty, inequalities, tripartism and social dialogue to solve the problems, work as the self-realization of work, that is not a commodity. All of that remains completely valid. Norms, of course. Maria-Luz is a specialist of norms, and she can answer to you better than me. But, I think, and I saw that in the national dialogues, I think that at the end of this exercise, we'll confirm that the basic values of the ILO are still completely valid, and maybe more than ever.
Yeah. If I can add, I'm very brief, only to tell you that already in 1919, when the ILO was set up, was built, there were already 4 international standards, because the normative action of the ILO is at the heart of the organization. Probably we need to refocus the way of doing this legislative or international legislative approach. But what is clear is we will need some regulation of the world war, and no one is better to do it than the ILO, than is tripartite and is really reflecting which are the needs of the world war.
And we invite our followers to reread the Constitution of the ILO of 1919 and the Philadelphia Declaration. You will be struck by the fact that it's remained very, very valid. Of course, we have to complete them probably and to develop, but reread those very beautiful texts and you will see their compelling power, their value.
So in a world of rapid change, some things stay the same, and that can be a good thing too. Nicholas Niemczyno, Special Advisor to the Director General on the Future of Work, Maria-Luz Vega, Coordinator of the Future of Work Centenary Initiative, thank you very much for joining the conversation. And to you as well, the audience, thanks for joining in and for all your insightful questions. Until the next time, goodbye.
We need to see